Ahead on NCBA's Cattleman to Cattleman.
On this week's special edition from Nashville, an update on farm policy issues in Washington, D.C. Plus, tips on low-stress livestock handling and more highlights from this year's Cattle Industry Annual Convention and NCBA Trade Show.
And now, NCBA's Cattleman to Cattleman with host Kevin Oxner.
Hello and welcome to NCBA's Cattleman to Cattleman. I'm Kevin Oxner. Thanks for joining us as we bring you more of our special coverage from the 2014 Cattle Industry Convention and NCBA Trade Show in Nashville, Tennessee. There was one of the biggest crowds ever at the Cattle Industry Convention as thousands of cattlemen and women came from all across our country for a mix of business, education, fellowship, and a little fun. These are exciting times for the U.S. beef cattle industry, and we ask a number of our convention attendees what they're looking forward to in 2014.
It's great to have the prices that we're having, and that's wonderful because we need it because of the high price of inputs, the feed and fertilizer and so forth. But we don't need to drop too much lower in terms of our numbers. So I would look for the industry to particularly the cow-calf portion of the industry, to have a very profitable year unless they have to buy some cattle. I know in my country we're very dry, and if we don't get a rain pretty shortly, southern Oklahoma, we're going to have to move cattle. And it's a good time to sell, but it won't be a good time to replace when we do get rains.
My next calf crop is going to be hitting the ground pretty soon, and I really look forward to see that calf crop come. As we sell last year's calf crop here in the next several weeks, we're also preparing for our next one. So every year is a new calf crop, and that's pretty exciting.
Well, I hope that we can actually start growing this beef herd a little bit. We don't need to lose our infrastructure, so we actually need this herd to grow, not too big, but something that we can sustain and that will be profitable for the future.
It's always exciting to kick off the year from the Cattle Industry Convention and NCBA Trade Show, and this year is certainly no exception. Joining me with a look into 2014 is NCBA Chief Executive Officer Forrest Roberts. Forrest, welcome back to the show.
Thanks, Kevin. Thanks for having me back.
What do you perceive to be some of the key highlights from this year's Annual Convention and Trade Show in Nashville?
Well, 2014 as a whole is certainly off to a very fast start. And certainly we've just coming off of a really great convention in Nashville. Great attendance, great engagement, and probably the one thing I noticed the most, Kevin, was folks had a sense of optimism about them that I haven't seen in quite some time. As we've worked through drought over the past several years, we heard a great, not only market report for where we see cattle prices continuing to soar, but also a really good weather forecast about a El Nino pattern that's going to be developing here as we head further into the spring that we think will bring some relief in areas that are still a little drought-stricken, but also bring more of the average or above average rainfall to much of the areas where beef cattle are raised in this country. We also had, bringing out of Nashville, a lot of knowledge through a lot of the premier education programs. Cattlemen's College 1 is our signature event, as you know, at our convention, and a real big opportunity to talk about a topic this year in Cattlemen's College that it's a word that means a lot of different things to a lot of different people, and that is, what is beef sustainability? How do we define it? And how do we drive really more value out of what that word means to consumers? And so overall, I feel like we're off to a really good and fast start. As an organization, I really feel like we have a tremendous amount of momentum, and that really feels good to start the year that way.
Yeah, man, big congratulations goes to you and your whole staff. Now, let's talk about some of the topics of conversation during convention. What were you hearing people talk about?
You know, no doubt people were really focused on where is this market going and what might that mean to them and their operations, especially those that are looking to expand. We certainly need to take the cow herd that's down around 29 million head up to, we hope, around 34 million head over the next 5 to 7 years. And so there was a lot of discussion around how those decisions that they're going to make when they go back home from the knowledge that they gained in Nashville, they can really look at how they grow their operations. So we took a lot of their feedback And as staff, we really took seriously the insights that we gathered from Nashville about how we look at the long-term plans for the organization, NCBA, and also the beef industry. So a lot of that's around Vision 2020. What are the most important deliverables we need to focus on to really accomplish the ultimate outcome? And that is to build trust with consumer influencers that we feel will enable growth throughout the entire beef supply chain, starting with folks at the cow-calf level of this industry.
Let's talk about policy for just a moment. There were a number of policy issues discussed at convention. What are some of the critical policy issues moving forward, and specifically what does NCBA plan to do to address those?
Well, a lot of the policy discussions centered around one government agency, EPA. How do we look at some of the regulations that are coming from the Environmental Protection Agency, and how do we look at our comments relative to those policies in a way that really makes sense for farmers and ranchers across this country? Secondly, there were a lot of discussions, Kevin, around marketing issues. So if we think about the recently passed Farm Bill, which had a lot of really positive points around a research title, conservation programs, disaster assistance, but we looked at marketing programs like country of origin labeling, and how do we take that now law and look at how it might be adjusted going forward to really make more economic sense for the entire beef supply chain. And then last but certainly not least, there was a lot of discussion on beef sustainability. How do we as an organization, as we engage with folks within the beef supply chain like retailers, packers, food service companies, non-government NGO organizations. When we have the dialogue around beef sustainability, how do we take the principles and the values from beef producers and bring those to the table where we think we've earned a pretty big leadership role to engage with? So those were some of the discussions that I would put in that policy category that we think were very significant.
Beef industry sustainability, as you mentioned, has been a hot topic of conversation during the convention. Give us your take on the sustainability issue, and where is this headed for us?
Well, beef sustainability, Kevin, as I referenced earlier, it's a word or two words that really mean a lot of different things to a lot of different people. Our goal has been to engage with, starting with beef producers, and then throughout the rest of the beef supply chain, in a way that helps define it in the sense that it makes economic sense. It really truly takes into account the environmental aspects of the words in defining it, and also the social aspects. So one of the things we've started with is a very deep discussion based off of a 3-year research project that we have just completed. So we have just wrapped up the beef sustainability assessment. So effectively, it's a life cycle that just really measures the footprint of the U.S. beef industry and what has really improved over the past several years. So when you think about the research that we've got, that serves as the foundation. And it's the foundation for us to be able to engage in discussions with stakeholders throughout the entire beef supply chain. So we had McDonald's. McDonald's has had a lot of communication here lately about their efforts to secure a sustainable beef supply. And so we engage with all of the stakeholders here to help define what are the principles that are important to them as beef producers that we take into the further discussions on beef sustainability, and when it's further defined, and more importantly, when those things that it's defined upon is implemented. And at the end of the day, what they told us, our beef producers are saying, help us understand how we can make this make more sense. In other words, how do we show how we have demonstrated continuous improvement over time? That's what's important to them to really explain the values that they have and how they go about making business decisions in their operations. So beef sustainability was a big area of discussion this week in Nashville.
And another one was both international as well as domestic demand for beef. I'd be interested, what are some of the things that NCBA is doing to both protect but also grow both domestic and international demand for beef?
Well, we're a very proud contractor to the Beef Checkoff program, and in that role, we focus on domestic preference for beef. As you well know, there's only about 4%, though, of the global population that lives in the U.S. and 96% outside of the U.S. So our efforts to work collaboratively with a group like the U.S. Meat Export Federation, our job is to work with them to gain access to these key international markets around the globe, and their job is to do the promotion in country. And when we look at today's values of a harvested steer or heifer at, let's say it's $1,900, well, there's probably $250, almost $300 of that value, Kevin, that's attributed to what we see with the growth in international markets. So NCBA is one of those unique organizations that does both. We have the focus on global demand for protein, and one of the most important things for us to keep in mind in how we carry out those strategies is to not forget about our neighbors to the north and to the south. Canada and Mexico are our two largest trading partners. So as we look at the North American focus within this industry, that is where home base is, and then we build from there into a lot of the key international markets all around the globe.
So for folks that may not have had the chance to go to the convention, what else would you share with them?
You know, NCBA is one of those organizations that I hope people sense and feel the excitement, the momentum that we have as an organization and as a team. We're, I think, the fastest growing national beef representative organization in the world. And when we see the momentum that we have, what we want producers across this country to do is just to engage with us. Engage at their local, regional, and state level, but also engage with us at the national level. Not waiting till the 2015 Cattle Industry Convention and Trade Show in San Antonio next February, but to engage now, because that engagement, Kevin, at the end of the day, what that allows us to do is to make the best decisions on behalf of this industry, and most importantly, the future of this industry. So that's what I would love folks to hear, and I would like to see through their further engagement.
Well, thanks, Forrest, for your continued leadership. Your plate is full, but we'll look forward to visiting with you throughout the year as we track progress against some of these key objectives.
You bet. Thanks, Kevin. Thanks for having me.
There are many great reasons to become a member of NCBA, and one of them is a chance to read the National Cattleman. It's the official publication of NCBA and provides timely news and articles about the issues and events affecting the beef industry. And it now includes an online version, which enables you to read the latest issues on the go. A subscription is included free of charge when you become a member of NCBA. Remember, joining is easy. Just give us a call at 1-866-USA-BEEF or visit us online at beefusa.org. Still ahead on NCBA's Cattleman to Cattleman.
What we're dealing with when we're moving livestock is applying pressure. And if you apply the pressure properly, animals seem to like it and respond well to it. And if you apply the pressure wrong, they learn to fight it or hide from it.
We'll look at Beef Quality Assurance approved livestock handling practices as Kurt Pate gives us a demonstration of how to move and work with bulls. Plus, we'll have more from the Cattle Industry Convention and NCBA Trade Show in Nashville. Don't go away. We'll be right back.
You're watching NCBA's Cattleman to Cattleman on RFD TV.
This is yours, and so is what grows there. Not theirs or theirs, yours. You need this to fight this and this to grow more this. Because the more of this you feed them, the less this you spend on that, which leaves more of this here. Don't let them take this from you. Chaparral takes care of weeds and brush, and that's that.
To truck guys, the truck is everything. And when you put them in charge of making an unbeatable truck, good things happen. This is the Ram 1500, the 2014 Motor Trend Truck of the Year. And first ever back-to-back winner. Guts, glory, Ram.
Welcome back. Joining me now is the chair of NCBA's Policy Division, Philip Ellis of Wyoming. Philip, thanks for coming to the show, and thanks for all you do relative to policy for NCBA.
Well, I appreciate it. I love the industry. Family rancher for several generations. It's our living, and so I'm glad to volunteer my time.
Well, let's get down to business. As you think about 2013, what are some of the key policy wins for NCBA over the last year?
We did have some policy wins that are important to us back on the ranch. The reauthorization of the DUFA, Animal Drug User Fee Act, by Congress and signed by the President in June. Important to the development of animal health products that we use every day on our family ranch. That was a big one. We had expanded trade access to Japan that enhances our markets, our global presence. We kept the meat inspectors working during the government shutdown. We're starting to forget that the government was shut down for 16 days, but the beef chain was not. Our cattle marketing went on as normal, and NCBA worked hard to keep that happening. We've had some movement in pushing forward on some Western lands issues, important out to where I ranch and to many of our members on the Grazing Improvement Act and the catastrophic fire legislation. And Kevin, there are some good things in the Farm Bill. There's permanent disaster relief. We kept EQIP in there and the conservation title enhanced. So there's some good things in the Farm Bill.
Well, let's talk about the Farm Bill. Obviously, we certainly didn't get the Farm Bill that we wanted. Is that fair to say?
That is fair to say. We did not get the Farm Bill we wanted, and so the two priorities that we have developed over 3 years working on the Farm Bill, some language on GIPSA and some relief on mandatory country of origin labeling, were taken out of the conference report in the final days, and so we found we could not support the conference report, and it passed, but we just couldn't support it without our priorities in there. Yeah. So we are looking forward to how we can, in 2014, deal with those issues. They're priorities to our members.
Very good. You know, some would say, hey, we've got a Farm Bill, we don't have an election pending next year. Why do you need a continual presence in Washington, D.C.? What would you say to that?
Well, first of all, out on my ranch, I'm working, I can't be there every day, but work goes on, for instance, on the Farm Bill every day. This Farm Bill, we began work on it 3 years ago with our lobbying team, with our state partners, with our volunteer leaders, and we worked on it every day. Our team in Washington was working on it every day with congressmen, senators, and their staffs. And beyond that, Kevin, there are regulations. Even if Congress is not doing much, there are regulations in EPA and just other agencies that we need a team there watching what's happening in government so we can keep productive on the ranch.
Yeah, that's a really good point, and appreciate, again, all you do. I think there's a lot of job security, right?
There's always something happening in Washington, D.C., and we need our presence there. As a volunteer leader, I am glad to be participating in the process and working with our team in D.C.
Very good. Philip Ellis. If you'd like to join Philip and other NCBA members in the fight to protect America's beef cattle industry, why not become an NCBA member? It's easy to do. Just visit the website beefusa.org, or you can call us at 1-866-USA-BEEF. Back with more from Nashville right after this.
New Holland equipment is built smart for the way you farm, and the T6 series tractors from New Holland are the ideal mid-range tractors for cattlemen. Whether your job is loader work, operating hay equipment, moving round bales, or pulling a mixer wagon, the T6 provides power and performance with optimal comfort. Choose from 3 4-cylinder and 3 6-cylinder models with the right combination of transmission, hydraulic, and cab options to fit specific haying or row crop applications. And T6 engines are Tier 4A emissions compliant, featuring New Holland's exclusive Eco Blue technology. Visit your New Holland dealer to learn more about the complete lineup of New Holland equipment, in addition to all of the benefits available to cattle producers.
Hello, I'm Kevin Ochsner, host of NCBA's Cattleman to Cattleman. Each week, we travel the country to bring you the latest cattle industry news and information. Check us out at cattlemantocattleman.org or on Facebook and Twitter. This convention provides a great opportunity for cattlemen and women to catch up on all the latest news affecting the industry, and many were interested to hear more about McDonald's pledge to serve verified sustainable beef within the next few years. Joining us now on the set is Bob Langer. He's the Vice President of Sustainability for McDonald's. Bob, thanks so much for being on our show, and thanks for coming to the convention.
I love being here.
You know, this morning you shared a couple of very interesting statistics relative to the size of your customer base and your scale as a beef customer yourselves. Tell folks a bit about those statistics.
I think the first interesting statistic is that we serve now 70 million people a day. I mean, think of that. So 70 million people a day across 119 countries. So our brand is big. It has a lot of influence. And we take that responsibility to serve these customers very seriously. And our work on sustainability, interesting enough, it's consumer driven. I want everybody to know this is not just some sort of small little effort being driven by some activist group. That's the last thing this is all about. This is about helping those consumers want to buy more beef. Our scope is big. On the other hand, another statistic is about our beef. Do you know that we have 5 burgers on our menu that are billion-dollar brands?
I was shocked by that this morning. That's an amazing, amazing statistic.
So we think sustainable beef is all about opportunity to build those brands, and why not have a 6th and 7th brand of beef to sell more beef? So the consumer drives everything we do. And if we satisfy the consumer and their interest in where beef comes from, how it's processed, all the issues related to people and planet and animals, we think they're going to be more interested in beef and buy more beef.
Absolutely. Now, sustainability is nothing new to McDonald's, and in fact, you have quite a bit of experience. Tell folks about some of your other sustainability initiatives.
Well, you're right about, our work on beef really fits into a bigger picture of us being a socially responsible company. Take a look at the menu changes we made in the last 10 years related to more salads, vegetables, fruit, apple slices, yogurt, oatmeal, whole grains. By the way, none of this was on our menu prior to 2002, none of it.
Right.
If we didn't respond to that consumer with these nutritional changes, our business wouldn't be growing the way it is. Take a look at the way we give back to the Ronald McDonald House charity. So sustainability is not only nutrition, sourcing, environment, but it's giving back to the community. And look at the people that deliver our food to the customers every day. You know that we have 1.8 million people that work for McDonald's?
That's amazing.
Serving those great tasting, affordable, safe, high quality burgers. And now part of the equation is let's bring sustainability to the customer.
The one thing that I heard a lot of after you launched the press release about sustainable beef by 2016 was, what does sustainability mean? So how do you define beef sustainability?
I think that's the question. And when you say, how do we define sustainability, I will throw back the question to the audience. And I think that's the first challenge that we all collectively have to answer. By the way, we don't want a McDonald's definition of sustainable beef. We want this definition to be developed by producers, ranchers, processors, retailers. We want our competition to be at the table. That's why we've helped form a global roundtable for sustainable beef, where rational scientific thought can help define what's sustainable beef so that we're all harmonized going after the same thing.
I think I know the answer to this question, but based on your presentation, it doesn't sound like you're interested in mandating specific production changes to make McDonald's sustainable beef, but tell folks what your thoughts are in that regard.
The last thing we want to do is mandate. Our corporate culture is the exact opposite. By the way, we have 5,000 owner-operators that own our business across the world. In the United States here, 90% of our restaurants are owned by independent owner-operators, by the way, that don't want to be told what to do. They're about as independent as your audience is.
Right.
So, no, we're not going to mandate, we're going to collaborate. This is all about working together. And it's about having a different mindset at sustainability. I think some are looking at sustainability maybe with fear, maybe with cynicism, maybe like, oh, what do we have to do?
Yeah.
Let's eliminate that.
Yeah.
This is not about fear. This is about opportunity. We need to grow our business. We want to sell more burgers. We want to help the beef industry be successful. And our definition of sustainability that we're going to advocate for, not only is it good for people and the planet, it's good for the economic viability of the entire industry. Our business, the beef industry. Sustainability needs to be economically viable as well.
And so let's talk about potential impacts to beef producers here in the United States and abroad. How do you perceive this effort impacting our audience, those people who are out there on farms, ranches, and feedlots producing the product that you serve every day?
Well, first of all, we want to work together and actually start purchasing sustainable beef that comes from verified sources by 2016. So what needs to do to get there? By the way, I often hear from producers and ranchers that I talk to that my business in my ranch and what I do is sustainable. And by the way, I believe that. So I believe we have a great base to come from. However, the challenge is we can't just say we're sustainable. We have to prove it.
Gotcha.
We have to measure it. We got to show data and statistics that show that. I really love the work that the National Cattlemen and Beef Association is doing on the life assessment work, showing how less water, less energy is being used to produce beef is fantastic information.
Yes.
Let's keep that going. Let's have more proof points, and let's show a way to define it so that customers like us can bring it to the customer.
Yeah, I love the comment of measure it, prove it, and then commit to improving it. And I think that's something we can all commit to.
We could always get better.
Absolutely. So tell us about the verification process. What do you anticipate the steps will be as you verify sustainable beef that you're going to sell by 2016?
I think we're going to see a lot of creativity and innovation as to how this is done. So I think the jury's out on that. All I can tell you is that there's a lot of different interesting models to look at to see what we can do in beef. By the way, in our restaurants today, in the United States, we have verified sustainable fish sandwiches that come from the Marine Stewardship Council. All of our espresso coffee comes from Rainforest Alliance certified process. So who's going to be a third party that we work with? How is this all going to be developed? I think it's in the hands of all of us to work together.
So one last question. Summarize why you believe this is an effort that's important not only to McDonald's, but to beef cattle producers as well.
Because the consumer wants it, the consumer needs it, the consumer is dramatically changing. We cannot sit back, and we have to recognize that this consumer, their high expectations of us are enormous. They want to know where their food comes from.
Yep.
They want it to be responsible. They want proof points for planet, people, and profit. They're not going to just take storytelling anymore. Isn't the world transparent? All the stuff that goes on the internet. I think a lot of us are saying, hey, that's not good for business.
Right.
I say it is good for business. Let's use transparency, disclosure to show the great beef system we have and bring it to the consumer. So this is completely consumer driven. And I think what's going to benefit your audience and us is those 70 million people a day that are coming to McDonald's. Why not 80? Why not 90?
Right.
And they're choosing beef more often than ever. Yeah. It's going to benefit us, benefit the beef industry.
Absolutely. Well, on behalf of all beef cattle producers, I want to thank you for the huge customer you are to our industry and all you do to sell more of our product around the globe.
Well, thanks for this chance to talk to you.
Thanks for coming. If you're interested in investing in the future of our great industry, now's a perfect time to join the National Cattlemen's Beef Association. It's easy. Just give us a call at 1-866-USA-BEEF or visit us online at beefusa.org. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
This isn't a job, it's a calling. Your hard work helps feed the world. Being linked to those who care for the land is our calling. For more than 175 years, John Deere has been a proud partner of the cattle business. That's why we bring you special NCBA member discounts, so you can get the right equipment, strong, rugged, versatile, and ready to work hard. Talk to your John Deere dealer to learn more about your NCBA member discounts. John Deere, committed to the land, committed to your success.
This business can take time away and become more of your family than your actual family. My days were tough. I had a lot of doctoring, a lot of pulling. Now our days on the feed yard are happy days. It's more about looking at the cattle and enjoying what we're producing versus the alternative, which is pull and treat and bang our head against the wall. We have never wavered from Draxon. We've seen the benefits just keep getting better and better.
Welcome back. Each year, the Cattle Industry Convention features an outstanding lineup of speakers who inform and inspire all of us. This year was no exception, as our keynote speaker was a real hero and the subject of a major motion picture. Cattleman to Cattleman reporter Russell Nemitz caught up with Captain Phillips backstage at the Opryland Hotel.
Well, one of this year's featured speakers here at the Cattle Industry Convention and NCBA Trade Show was Captain Richard Phillips. Of course, his personal and life story was recently turned into a blockbuster Hollywood movie, and we're lucky enough to have Captain Phillips on the program with us today. First of all, Captain Phillips, thanks for being part of the 2014 Cattle Industry Convention.
Well, thank you for inviting me. It's great to be here. You got a big group.
Yes, we do. Thousands and thousands of cattlemen and cattlewomen from across the country have joined us here in Music City, so to speak. Now, talk about the experience of what it was like to have your personal life story turned into a Hollywood movie.
Well, of course it is surreal. There's many stories that could come out, and that one's the one with the pirates did. And it's strange just to see yourself in a movie, but it's understandable with everything that went on.
What was that actual experience like that day those Somali pirates invaded your vessel?
Well, it was pretty much a sinking feeling originally, and then truly near despair once they boarded the ship and got to the bridge. But the crew did a great job and were instrumental in the positive outcome, and working together we were able to overcome the problem.
Captain Phillips, did Hollywood do a good job of portraying your personal life story on the big screen?
I think they did a good job. Paul Greengrass really boiled it down to a man in peril on the sea, and I think he did a good job. And of course, to have Tom play you, he's a pretty good actor. The only advice I gave him when he came and talked to me was he's going to have to put on a little more weight and get a little better looking.
What was your message to these cattlemen and cattlewomen here in Nashville at the Cattle Industry Convention?
Well, basically, just my story of the 5 days in April of 2009, and also put in dispersing their lessons learned and things that I came out with. I think we are all stronger than we even realize. We can take more, we can do more. We worried about things in our life, professionally and personally, and we're able to do the things. And if we choose not to quit, it's only over when we choose to quit, and we unite with our teammates or crewmates or whoever you're working with and form a focused, dedicated, professional team. I think we can overcome most problems, and that's pretty much the basis of the speech. And then I tell the story and things that went on, during the story that you don't see in the movie.
Now, I understand you also have a book that has just been released. Talk about that.
Well, the book came out in 2010, and I did that after the incident. I spent about 14 months at home. First I've ever spent a year at home straight anywhere, and wrote the book. And the book came out and did fairly well, and that's what the movie is based on. And again, I think they did a good job.
Captain Phillips, I would probably lose my job if I didn't ask this next question. Since we are doing this interview at a cattle industry convention, what is your favorite steak when you go out or cook at home?
Well, actually, all of the steaks are my favorite. I love anything from a hamburger to filet. And if cooked right, it's a darn good meal.
Hey, thanks for taking a little bit of time for us here at the Cattle Industry Convention.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me.
All right, Kevin, there you go. Not only can Captain Richard Phillips navigate the ocean's waters, but he can also navigate his way with a piece of U.S. steak on that dinner plate. Reporting from the Cattle Industry Convention and NCBA Trade Show here in Nashville, and for Cattleman to Cattleman, I'm Russell Nimitz. We'll go ahead and send it back to you in the studio.
Thanks, Russell. There were all kinds of educational sessions at the Cattle Industry Convention, including great hands-on learning about beef quality assurance and low-stress cattle handling. Before we came to Nashville, we headed to Texas to visit with Kurt Pate about the best ways to safely handle bulls.
So when we're dealing and talking about effective stockmanship, if you break it down to its component parts, you're really working with the animal's mind, their brain. And the way to communicate with the brain, the best way is through vision. We can use touch and we can use sound, but out in the open in a big area, the way the bull sees us and how we are approaching his pressure zone is the most important point. So when I want to communicate with these bulls, the worst thing I can do is walk around behind them, because that'll cause their vision or their eyes to turn and look at me, and that'll put them in the exact opposite direction I want them to go. So as I walk to move them out of this pen, I'm going to be real conscious of where their eye looks at me and where it points their nose. And I want to point their nose right out this gate. So as I approach here, I step in and I approach these bulls in a way that causes them to look right towards the gate. So I have to get down behind this guy a little bit more. And as he comes across, I'm going to step over here. And as we prepare them, I'll get them all prepared to go, trying to position myself where they're all pointed towards the gate, and I will send them right through the gate. So I'm way up on their side, and now I have control of their flows going through the gate. I can tell each one of them to go through there nice and orderly. I can step back and take the pressure off. I can step in towards his tail to bring his nose across. This last one, I can walk right by him. As soon as I get by the balance point, I can turn in, step in behind, and flow him right through the gate. What I had was complete control of these bulls' mind because I was in the right position. If you get around behind them, you have no control of their mind or their speed. So what we're dealing with when we're moving livestock is applying pressure. And if you apply the pressure properly, animals seem to like it and respond well to it. And if you apply the pressure wrong, they learn to fight it or hide from it. Bulls don't take pressure good. They like good pressure, but they don't like bad pressure. So as I move these bulls, it's real important to pressure them in the proper way so they keep getting better, or you'll have lots of trouble with your bulls. And your bulls are really your report card on how good your cattle handling is. So at first I look at the big picture here, I see all of them, and the first thing I want to do is just start lining them out, get them, not putting too much pressure on, but get them to change their mind and point them all in the same direction. Once they all get head and tailed the same direction, now they kind of want to go, and all I have to do is step in, pressure him, straighten his nose, step back, ask this one to come forward, step forward. All I'm doing is applying pressure to each bull that needs it at the right time. So I'll send him on, send him on. Now right here I've got to start widening out to point him towards my gate. As I widen out, I'll turn their heads towards the gate. I'll put some pressure right on this bull here. I'll step up to him. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to keep the pressure on him all the way through. He's going to push the other bull through the gate. Now this positions me here to apply pressure, take it off. I'll open the gap for this bull. He's not going, so I'll move in, apply pressure in the right spot, send him. Now I'm going to send him pretty hard so he pushes his way through the gate. This little guy right here, I'm going to walk right directly by him. As soon as he gets by the breaking point, I'll just go with him. What this does, I'm out to the side, he can see me, and it causes him to push his way through that gate where the other bull's pressure can't push him back. So one of the real stressful tasks that we do with any animals in the beef industry is sorting. That can put more pressure on than anything. But with bulls, it's not only the pressure of the handler, but the pressure of the other bulls too. So I like to sort bulls in a bigger pen. I actually like to sort all cattle in a bigger pen, but this will be a good way to show that these bulls can be sorted in a bigger area where they don't feel so confined, and it'll just work out safer and better for everybody. So the first thing I want to do is, again, get them pointed towards the gate. So I position myself to get things lined out, and as soon as we get them positioned, now I can decide I can let him go because they know how to go by me. I'll keep this calf here, I'll keep this younger one. Send him to the back. I'd like to keep this first one here, so I'll bring him right on around, come to the back. So if I've got him under control, I can position him and put him anywhere I want. I'll send this guy by, or back to the back, and I'll just keep positioning myself to where I can put myself in the proper place to get this older bull to come on by. I'll just walk with him. As I stop here, all the bulls are looking at me and wanting to go. This way they stay good at getting sorted or worked, but I got my sort done real low stress.
To find out more about low-stress livestock handling and the Beef Quality Assurance Program, visit bqa.org or visit our website, that's cattlemantocattleman.org. We'll be back with more from Nashville right after this. Stay with us.
Your herd your business, your family. You've always protected what matters most, so you know how important vaccinations are for healthy cattle. And with Vista vaccines from Merck Animal Health, you know you're covered. No other vaccine works like Vista. Only Vista gives you complete dual-action pneumonia protection and complete one-dose fetal protection for the entire pregnancy. Protect what matters most. Talk to your veterinarian or animal health supplier about Vista.
To ensure your seeds become strong stands, give your soil the right preparation before you plant. Improve your growing environment with agronomically designed equipment from Case IH, like the new Ecolo Tiger 875 disc ripper, engineered to manage tough residues and shatter root-limiting compaction for improved nutrient uptake and better stands with more fully developed plants at harvest. The world of farming is changing. Will you be ready? Learn more at caseih.com.
We're here at the AgriLabs booth talking with Steve Schramm and Randy Tosh about some exciting new technologies, specifically the vet gun and vet caps. And I guess, Steve, let's begin with you. Just tell us a little bit about this technology.
Kevin, this has been a 3-year test market with our partners at Smart Vet, and we've really fine-tuned the device itself and the vet cap system that now we can bring an insecticide control product to beef producers that are really needed in today's environment.
That's really neat. And Randy, I know there's a lot of scientific research that went into developing this technology. Maybe give us some of the background.
Well, we put a lot of thought into both the development of the encapsulated vet cap and into the gun itself. And as Steve suggested, this is a precision tool that we know farmers and ranchers can use to eventually deliver a whole range of animal health products to their herd and do it in a very efficient and effective way. A lot of our technology resides in the soft gel encapsulation for the vet cap, which we'll be demonstrating here at the NCBA show this week.
And Steve, maybe tell folks what, in your opinion, are some of the biggest benefits, not only to the animal, but also to the producer in this technology.
Yes, Kevin, up until today, cattle producers have had very good tools to use for fly control and insect control and parasite control. But what's different today with the vet cap is you can actually time when you actually need to use a product for fly controls. Many times producers will pour their cattle in the spring before they let them out to pasture. Well, now you can actually time when you need to apply an insecticide for fly control. But the biggest benefit, other than just the timing of it, is the economic return. When you think about how much the horn flies have an economic problem with producers, reducing anywhere from 15 to 30% of the weight gain over an 80-day period on pasture. So with the vet cap and vet gun system with the AML product, one treatment for 5 to 6 weeks control will get you a 10 to 1 return. So for a $3 investment roughly, you'll get a $30 return on your investment, and that's going to be key in today's cattle prices.
Yeah, with the feeder and cattle prices what they are today, that seems like a minor investment to manage your cattle correctly. I'd love to take a look and see how that works. Do you have a second? Absolutely. Let's give it a shot. Well, Randy, tell me first of all about the product and specifically how you prepare to use the product.
Okay. The vet gun's designed to be very simple. The only thing that the producer has to do once he takes the vet gun out of the box is to put the CO2 canister in place. That's very easily done, and we're offering CO2 in several sizes so that depending on the number of animals to be treated, producer can select the size of CO2 that works best for them. We have both a pre-filled and we have a refillable CO2 canister that we use. Now, it's really easy to load the vet gun, and one of the great things about this, even that there's no risk to the producer in handling our encapsulated product, we wanted to avoid that if all possible. So the product will come to the producer in a 30-count pack like this. This is just one retail offering. Inside are the 6 individual sleeves of 5 capsules. If you're out on horseback or an ATV with your cattle, the last thing we want people to do is have to fumble with product, or to, even more importantly, lose product. So all you have to do is take the end off of a single sleeve of product and just simply let it roll into the feeder tube of the vet gun. The feeder tube itself will hold 3 sleeves of product, so 15 count of AML vet caps. Once we're all gassed up, as this gun is, all we have to do is take the safety off, and obviously we recommend that you use gloves and protective eyewear at all times. The distance of about 15 or up to 30 feet away from an animal, Cattle that have typically been offered hay or cake or something so that they're preoccupied with that, we do recommend that we dry fire the vet gun a few times just to acclimate the herd to the sound of the vet gun itself. But as you'll hear from the demonstration, the vet gun is not loud. So if you're ready,
let's give it a shot.
Okay. At about this distance, we'll want to apply this product near the shoulder region of the animal, which is where the hornfly burden sits, and so we get immediate knockdown and control in that way.
Wow, that's amazing.
And that's instant relief for the cattle. And cattle, as you can tell, would not be adversely affected either by the sound of the vet gun or by the impact of being struck by one of the capsules. It's probably one of the most humane ways that we can offer fly control to cattle.
Humane, labor-saving, and it sounds to me like a profit-making technology.
Absolutely, Kevin.
To find out more about AgriLabs and view video replays of our program, visit our website, cattlemantocattleman.org. We'll have more from Nashville right after this.
Both here, 210.11. I'm at 210.11.
Yes! Joe. Todd. How'd you do? Oh, not bad.
See what you have to gain at thelongrangelook.com.
We know who made that hitch. We know who cut the steel, who milled the ball, and who welded the seams. We know who tested, measured, and checked. We even know who thought the whole thing up. We're B&W, and we know your hitch. Because we don't make them halfway around the world. We make them all right here. B&W. Trusted.
Ah, my friends, there appears to be no end to the number of books, CDs, and DVDs that escape from my mind. Thank you for the inspiration. My new book is called Poems Worth Saving, stories about the funny side of our way of life that also leaves room for a sequel, Poems Not Worth Saving. 800-654-2550, online at baxterblack.com. It is as fun as a tub full of puppies.
Most family farms and ranches are a team effort. I live around them, help them with their cows now and then. I see them at the ag meetings, at the school sporting events, and at church. The bigger the family, the less help they need from outside. They're pretty self-supporting as far as labor goes, this bunch. Their responsibilities are pretty clear, from feeding the cows to checking the dog's water. The dad is usually the boss. The mom is the head advisor, pie baker, child raiser, chore divider, school coordinator, birthday remember, 10 p.m. heifer checker, check writer, and wound examiner. But when they are amongst other livestock peers, he usually introduces her this way. This is my wife. She does the books. And I do the important stuff, like mend the fence and check the cows and make sure the income's enough to cover the cost of farming. She's tight as a new hat band. I need to buy a new baler, and she figures out if we can. I spend all day on the tractor. She's in the office all day, just talking with the SCS, or checking the price of hay, or dealing with the accountants and keeping the banker straight. Me, I might be cleaning a ditch out or hanging a rusty gate. She fills out all the blasted forms the government makes us keep. She reads those regulations till she's fighting them in her sleep. Me, I go to sleep a-dreaming of bulls and barns and sales. And she's dreaming the inventory or estimating bales. And she still finds time to bake a pie between her business deals. And I keep busy all the time, just greasing the squeaky wheels. Well, I told my wife that we should think about getting a hired man. You know, running a farm ain't easy. Good managers need a plan. Well, she agreed that it weren't easy to manage and keep abreast. But why, she asked, get a hired man? I've already got the best. This is Baxter Black, the hired man from out there.
It's always a treat to hear from and visit with our good friend, the cowboy poet, Baxter Black. Don't go away. We'll be back with more from Nashville right after this.
Well, I think a rancher has to be a steward of the land. There's nobody else that can take care of land better than a rancher. When we switched over to the Purina products, it was a step in the right direction.
The difference we see in the cattle is the consistency of their nutrition.
The cattle hold their condition a lot better throughout the whole year.
It does make a difference that we can see, day in and day out.
Don't miss the 2014 NCBA Legislative Conference in Washington, D.C. It's your opportunity to meet with key congressional and federal agency influencers and to let them know where cattlemen and women stand on critical issues that impact the cattle business and our way of life. Make plans to be in Washington, D.C. April 8th through the 10th for the 2014 NCBA Legislative Conference. Together, we can do more. Details at beefusa.org.
Welcome back. Have you ever wondered how a big event like the NCBA trade show with 300 exhibitors and over 6 acres of exhibits gets set up? Let's see how it's done. That wraps up this week's edition of NCBA's Cattleman to Cattleman. Thanks so much for watching. We'll see you next week right here on RFD TV.